A long time ago, before Wi-Fi and K-dramas took over the world, there was a vast land where the wind was harsher than a mom scolding her kid for spilling milk. This land witnessed the rise and fall of great leaders. Some came and went, leaving their marks on history. But only a few dared to dream of something bigger than themselves. One of them, Qasim Khan. In a world where power struggles were basically the daily soap opera, two leaders stood out, Sultan Kiri and Sultan Janibek. These guys weren't just warriors or adventurers looking for trouble. Nah, they were future legends, my friend. But before they could create a true home for their people, they had to go through some serious challenges. So, what is a nation without history? What is a leader without his people? And is victory really the end? Or just the beginning of a whole new political headache? Buckle up, because this story is more addictive than waiting for the next episode of your favorite series. Oh, and before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Atreides Data Center so you don't miss out on more epic movie breakdowns. Under the endless sky of Central Asia, the fate of kings was written, not with ink, but with blood and steel. This isn't some fairy tale, bro. This is a story of betrayal, war, and the birth of a nation, forged in the fires of battle and the ambitions of its leaders. In the 15th century, after the Golden Horde broke up like a band with creative differences, new states started popping up. One of them was the White Horde, founded by Uruz Khan. But you know how politics go: power struggles, betrayals, and backstabbing. In the end, Shaybonid Abulkhair won the throne. Problem? Not everyone was a fan of his Iron Fist leadership style. Two Mongol-descended princes, Sultan Kari and Janibek, were done with his nonsense. They felt their homeland had turned into a bad neighborhood where no one was safe. And Abulkhair? He was like a ruthless CEO who only cared about profit, crushing anyone who stood in his way. Instead of waiting to be wiped out, Kari and Janibek did the smartest ninja move ever. They packed up their people and vanished into the north. The plan? Find a chill place to start fresh. And boom! In 1465, they founded the Kazakh Khanate. That's where the Kazakh nation's story truly begins. After Kari and Janibek passed away, leadership went to Birendik and Qasim. According to tradition, Birendik became Khan, while Qasim, the field guy, took charge of the army. But peace didn't last long. Enter Muhammad Shaybani, grandson of Abulkhair, who still couldn't move on from his granddad's glory days. One night, chaos erupted. The Kazakh camp was ambushed by Shaybonid forces. Houses burned, people were slaughtered, and women and children were captured as slaves. Some kids managed to escape and delivered the bad news to Sultan Qasim. At that moment, he knew. This wasn't just an attack. This was a declaration of war. On the other side, Sultan Sherali of Shaybonid proudly presented his loot to Muhammad Shaybani. Their goal was clear: wipe out the Kazakh Khanate and reclaim Deshti Kipchak, once ruled by Abulkhair Khan. But Qasim wasn't about to let that happen. He knew Kazakhs needed allies. His first move? Reaching out to the Mengi tribe. Problem? Their leader, Khan Abdikarim, had gone full ninja mode, completely vanished. Turns out, he was trying to stay out of trouble with the Shaybanids. Qasim, being the diplomatic genius he was, decided to go there himself. No messengers, no envoys, just him and a small team. His mission? Convince the Mangit to join the Kazakh cause before Shaybanids got to them first. This wasn't just a political trip. This was a make-or-break moment for the Kazakh people. Would they survive, or would they disappear into history, buried under the ambitions of greater empires? As the big showdown drew closer, tension was high. Two powerful forces were gearing up for battle, and Qasim felt the pressure. His group was small, the journey was long, and let's be real, getting ambushed along the way was a real possibility. But orders were orders. They had to move. Before departing, they prayed for safety and victory, because honestly, they were about to roll the dice with fate. After a long and exhausting journey, they finally arrived in Manget territory. To their surprise, the locals welcomed them with open arms, offering food, shelter, and full VIP service. Why? Because they still remembered Kasim's father, Khan Janibek, as a great leader. But Kasim wasn't here for a nostalgia trip. He had a mission. And what happened next would decide the future of the Kazakh Khanate. Kasim and his crew were deep in discussion with Khan Mangat about the letter from Burendik Khan. But instead of giving a straight answer, Khan Mangat pulled the classic, "Let me think about it first" move. Suspicious. His excuse? Bro, my territory is literally sandwiched between Shabanid lands. If I join you guys, I'm dead meat. Kasim didn't buy it, but he knew he couldn't force him. So, with a heavy heart and an annoyed expression, Kasim and his men packed up and started heading home. Before they left, Khan Mangat generously gifted them food supplies, mainly dried meat. How thoughtful, right? Yeah. Number. There was a snake in the grass. On their way back, Kasim's men stopped to take a break, munching on the food they got. Just as they were catching their breath, bam! Out of nowhere, Mangit warriors ambushed them. And, to make things worse, the food they received earlier? Poisoned. Before they could even grab their weapons, many of them dropped like flies. The ones who could still stand fought back, struggling against both the enemy swords and the toxic stew in their bellies. When the dust settled, Kasim realized this wasn't just some petty betrayal. This was a master plan cooked up by none other than Muhammad Shaybani himself. Kasim clenched his fists. This wasn't just an attack on him, it was an attack on the entire Kazakh nation. His advisors urged him to calm down, to think things through. He took a deep breath. War isn't just about swords, but also strategy. He prayed for his people's safety and steeled himself for the battles ahead. Meanwhile, in another part of the Kazakh lands, a young and charismatic prince finally returned home after years on the battlefield. His mother welcomed him with teary eyes and open arms. The household was filled with joy and relief for about 5 minutes. Then, boom, bad news. Burendik Khan had summoned a council to discuss the next big war. Politics were getting messy, strategies were colliding, and his mom just wanted peace for once in her life. But nope, war drums were already beating in the distance. And if that wasn't stressful enough, the prince had his own personal drama. His family had arranged for him to marry Aisha, the daughter of Sultan Jantamir, to strengthen their political alliance. Problem? His heart already belonged to Altenbike. His friends tried to talk some sense into him. Dude, this is a power move. Marry Aisha, secure the throne. But he wasn't having it. His heart was set on love, not politics. As he struggled with this dilemma, the war against Mangit and Shaybanid was creeping closer. In the war council, the Kazakh leaders finally connected the dots. The Shaybanids were playing 4D chess. They were manipulating Kazakhs into fighting Mangit first, so they could swoop in from the south when the Kazakh forces were weakened. Classic evil mastermind move. Realizing the trap, the council made a bold decision. Forget Mangit. Shaybanid was the real enemy. Their next move? Take back Saganak, a historic city currently occupied by the Shaybanid forces. Sultan Mahmud was hyped. He was itching for battle, and Saganak seemed like an easy target, barely defended, mostly young recruits, and limited reinforcements. He was assigned to lead the attack, with Kasim by his side. But Kasim had a different plan. Instead of rushing in like a raging bull, he secretly sent a warning message to the governor of Saganak. The message? Heads up, we're coming. You might want to rethink your life choices. When the Saganak governor got the news, he went full panic mode. He called an emergency meeting with his council. Their biggest problem? Food supplies. They barely had enough for a week, and their reinforcements were too far away. The council split into two factions. One wanted to fight to the death. The other was like, nah, we surrender before we all starve. When the Kazakh army arrived, they found the city surprisingly quiet. The gates didn't burst open with arrows flying. Instead, an envoy walked out, waving a white flag. Just like that, Siganak surrendered without a fight. The Kazakh banner was raised high above the city walls, signaling victory.
Qasım Sultan, бұл шаһар билеушісінің сізге жазған хаты. Қабыл алыңыз.
Olmay жатып, жеңіске жеткенімізді қараңдар.
The former Siganak council and governor were allowed to leave peacefully, a rare move in medieval warfare. This was Qasim's defining moment. He didn't just return as a warrior, he returned as a hero. The people celebrated their bloodless victory, and Qasim was hailed as a genius leader. But deep down, he knew this wasn't the end. The road ahead was still long. Bigger challenges were waiting. As the cheers of victory filled the air, Qasim was forced to face the hardest choice of his life: duty or love. To make things even worse, Burindik Khan had also fallen for Altenbike. The moment he saw her during the migration, it was love at first sight. And unlike Qasim, he had one big advantage: he was the Khan. All he had to do was point and say, "I'm marrying her." And just like that, Altenbike's fate was sealed. Qasim and Altenbike loved each other, but politics had no room for emotions. For the sake of peace and stability, they had to let each other go. It was cruel, unfair, and heartbreaking, but that was the price of power. As Qasim wrestled with his broken heart, a mysterious letter arrived from Sultan Muhammad. The message? "Bro, we need to talk. Urgent." The meeting was set to take place at an old winter settlement, right after Burundik's wedding celebration. Qasim took a deep breath. This could be a trap. But there was only one way to find out. With a heavy heart and a sharp mind, he prepared to meet his cunning brother one last time. The grand wedding celebration of Khan Burundik was in full swing. All the great leaders gathered, praying for the prosperity of the kingdom. But guess what? Instead of enjoying the party, Burundik was restless. His mind was all over the place. And why? Because Qasim didn't show up. It was like getting ghosted by your best bro. He kept asking himself, why isn't he here? Is he still salty about everything? Meanwhile, Qasim finally met Sultan Muhammad. No small talk, no pleasantries. He went straight to the point. "Bro, first you set me up with Khan Abdikarim. Now you invite me here? What's your game?" Muhammad, as cool as ever, replied, "Qasim, you're Janabek's son, the rightful heir of the Kazakh throne. It's time for you to rise and overthrow Burundik. I'll handle the wars in the south, and you can take your place as Khan." But Qasim wasn't that easy to fool. He crossed his arms and smirked. "You think I don't see through this? Come on, man. This is just another one of your tricks. I'm not playing your dirty politics." Muhammad insisted. "Kazakh needs you." Qasim chuckled. "Yeah, and you need me to do your dirty work, right?" After a heated debate, Qasim left and had a deep talk with his mother. He remembered how Muhammad had always been the type to throw tantrums when things didn't go his way. But the drama didn't stop there. Sultan Mahmud, who was in charge of Saganak, got greedy and raised taxes way beyond what Khan Burundik had set. The people were furious, and Qasim didn't let it slide. He slammed a massive fine on Mahmud, making it clear that corruption wouldn't be tolerated. Some advisors disagreed, but Qasim stood his ground. Without order, Kazakh won't survive. Back at the palace, tensions were rising. People started doubting Burundik's leadership. Then, tragedy struck, Princess Eltel gravely ill. No doctor could save her. And worse, she lost her unborn child. In her final moments, she whispered only one name, Qasim. Her passing left a deep scar, not just on Qasim, but on everyone who loved her. As Burundik drowned in grief and frustration, he made a shocking decision. He stripped Qasim of his title as commander of the Kazakh army. His reason? Qasim had secretly met with Mohammad Shaybani, their greatest enemy. The court was in disbelief, but the decision was final. Qasim was disappointed. After dedicating his life to Kazakh, this was how he was repaid. But he didn't let it break him. Instead of sulking, he moved to the borders, not to hide, but to protect the people from the incoming storm of war. Politics might have failed him, but his love for Kazakh never wavered. And so, Kasim's journey took a new path. Would he return to claim the throne? Or would he remain a guardian in the shadows? Only time would tell. Life went on, and Kasim found peace in the fertile lands of Alatau. No political drama, no betrayals, no wars, just a simple life. He married Aisha and had 2 sons, Mamash and Abulker. Though he wasn't officially Khan, the people still saw him as their true leader. Why? Because he wasn't the type to sit in a fancy palace and give orders. He was out there, helping his people firsthand. Everything was peaceful, until one day, an unexpected guest arrived, Maksud Bek and his family. This dude used to be a die-hard Shaybani loyalist, so when he showed up, everyone got suspicious. But Kasim? He welcomed him with open arms. Maksud Bek even gifted him a sword from Isfahan, a symbol of respect. Even former enemies now recognized Kasim's greatness.
İsfahan'ın ustalar sokkan almaz kılıç. Mertebeniz öse.
Meanwhile, back at Khan Burundik's palace, things weren't looking so good. Bad news arrived. Muhammad Shaybani had attacked Saganak and killed Mahmud. Burundik was furious. He immediately called for all the sultans and prepared for war. He even sent a letter to Kasim, asking for help. Then, the Great War between the 2 Khans began, Shaybani's forces versus Burundik's army. But there was a problem. Kasim arrived late. By the time he got there, Burundik's army was already getting crushed. Worse, Burundik himself was badly wounded. Seeing the battlefield in chaos, Kasim didn't waste time. He took charge and led a counterattack. With smart tactics and a bit of luck, he turned the tide. Shaybani's forces, exhausted from fighting, were forced to retreat. Their leader fled to Samarkand, plotting his revenge. Once in Samarkand, Shaybani declared Ghazavat, a holy war against the Kazakh people. His new law was brutal. No Kazakh was allowed to enter the cities, no trade was allowed, and if they were caught, they'd be sold as slaves. Kasim was beyond enraged. He demanded action from Burundik, but the Khan was still hesitant, trying to maintain peace. Kasim had had enough. If Burundik wouldn't fight, then he would. The Kazakh leaders all stood by Kasim's side. And so the Second War began. This time, the Kazakh army faced off against Shaybani's forces, led by Sherali. But victory came with a price. Mamash fell in battle. The loss was devastating, but the Kazakh warriors fought with even more determination. In the end, they crushed Shaybani's army and drove them out. Meanwhile, Shaybani himself met his end in a battle against the Kizilbashes. With the war over, Khan Burandik finally realized the truth. His time as ruler was over. And who better to take his place than Kasim? And so, Kasim was officially crowned Khan of the Kazakh people. In his speech, he delivered a powerful message. Today, we are no longer wanderers without a home. We have carved our name into this land, and history will remember us. But don't get it twisted. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Through war, sacrifice, and betrayal, the Kazakh people finally had a leader who could lead them toward a brighter future. What do you guys think? Did Sultan Qasim truly secure the Kazakh Khanate? Or was this just the start of an even bigger conflict? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next epic movie breakdown. See you in the next video.